gas prices keep going up. I feel like I'm losing track of what's going on in the Middle East, but I can't exactly miss it either. I mean, even when I'm not actively following the story, it just keeps popping up elsewhere. Oil, markets, cost of living. And Japan is one of those places where you notice it very quickly. A lot of people wouldn't probably naturally connect the dots. I mean, they're too far away on the map. But in early March, Japan's stock market dropped nearly 8% in just 3 days. And it's interesting because while all eyes are on Iran, the US, and Israel, one of the first economic hits came from a country thousands of kilometers away that didn't fire a single shot. And you start seeing Japan in the same news cycle more often. Sanai Takaichi at the White House, and at the same time, Japan trying to keep things stable around those energy routes. It feels like separate stories, but they just don't stay separate. And the reason is actually pretty simple though. Japan doesn't produce what it needs. It imports almost everything, especially oil. Over 95% of that oil comes from the Middle East, and about 70% of that comes through one place, the Strait of Hormuz. So a huge part of Japan's energy supply is basically moving through a very narrow waterway in a very unstable region. So if anything happens there, even just the uncertainty, it is felt in Japan. Energy prices, stock markets, household costs, everything takes a hit. So you feel it. But economics is only one side to it. The harder hit for Japan is political. It's stuck in a very tight balance. On the one hand, it relies heavily on the United States for security, right? And on the other, it relies on the Middle East for energy. So it ends up constantly trying not to upset either side. That's why you see Sanai Takaichi having to toe the line and tread carefully in Washington, because she's not there to push back. She's there to stay in sync. At the same time, the approach is different with Iran. It's more about keeping things open, maintaining communication, keeping shipping routes safe, trying to avoid anything that would disrupt the flow. Not really about taking sides, more about making sure nothing snaps. And of course, Japan is just one piece of this puzzle. The core tension still lies between the US, Iran, and Israel. So the US is also dealing with its own pressures, midterm elections, inflation, Wall Street, it all connects. So Washington doesn't really have the luxury of letting things spiral for too long. And that's also why you sometimes see this strange back and forth tone. One day the rhetoric is extremely sharp, and the next day suddenly there are positive signals of the negotiations. Well, maybe there is progress, maybe there isn't, but some kind of signal usually needs to be there. Well, I think I'll leave it here for now, and next time we can talk about why narratives seem to move faster than actual situation itself.